Imagine being trapped in a small, confined space where every sound you make could mean your discovery and ultimate doom. Imagine being surrounded by loved ones, yet feeling the suffocating solitude of carrying unspoken fears. Now picture yourself as a 13-year-old girl, penning your thoughts to a diary named Kitty, your only confidant. This was the world of Anne Frank, captured in her timeless masterpiece, The Diary of a Young Girl. What makes Anne's diary extraordinary is not just the historical period it documents, but the depth of her insights that make us question who we are, what we stand for, and how we survive in the face of darkness. To understand Anne's story, we must first understand her world, a world on fire. Europe in the 1940s was consumed by World War II, a conflict driven by Hitler's ambition and a chilling ideology of racial purity. For millions, this war meant destruction, loss, and fear. For Anne Frank, it meant hiding. The war transformed ordinary lives into extraordinary tales of survival and resistance. Anne's family was among the countless Jewish families forced into a perilous existence, their lives threatened by systemic persecution. Hitler's regime sought to erase entire communities, and for people like Anne, survival meant making unimaginable sacrifices. The Franks moved into the Secret Annex, a hidden space behind Otto Frank's business premises in Amsterdam, where they lived in silence and constant fear for over 2 years. Understanding the magnitude of this danger helps us appreciate the resilience and hope captured in Anne's words, written in the midst of chaos. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, in 1929, Anne was part of a Jewish family, a group Hitler deemed undesirable. When the Nazi regime began its campaign of terror, the Franks fled to Amsterdam, seeking refuge. But as Nazi control spread, even the Netherlands became a perilous place. Anne's father, Otto Frank, foresaw the growing danger after Adolf Hitler's rise to power in 1933. The family left behind their home, their friends, and their way of life in Germany, hoping to build a safer future in Amsterdam. Initially, the Netherlands offered a haven, but the illusion of safety was shattered in 1940 when the Nazis invaded. Anti-Jewish measures were implemented rapidly, stripping Jewish citizens of their rights, freedoms, and even their ability to work or attend school. For Anne, this meant being forced to leave her beloved Montessori school and adjust to the isolation and fear that came with being marked as different. The Franks' hope for security dwindled as the noose tightened, pushing them toward the desperate decision to go into hiding. At first glance, the Frank family's hiding spot seemed unremarkable, a plain house on Prinsengracht Street. But behind its walls lay the Secret Annex, a concealed space where 8 individuals would live in silence, secrecy, and fear for over 2 years. Imagine living in a fishbowl, a space where every movement is scrutinized, every word carefully measured. The Secret Annex was not just a hiding place. It was a crucible that revealed the raw elements of human nature. In this small space, personalities clashed, tempers flared, and frustrations boiled over. Yet, there were also moments of kindness, laughter, and unity. It was as though the annex magnified both the best and worst aspects of its inhabitants. Anne walked this tightrope every day. Through her diary, we see her struggle to reconcile her frustrations with gratitude, her fears with dreams, and her longing for freedom with the harsh reality of confinement. Anne's diary was more than a journal. It was a lifeline. Like an artist with a blank canvas or a composer with a melody, Anne poured her emotions, observations, and reflections into the pages of her diary, addressing it as Kitty. This diary became her confidant, a place where she could express the thoughts and feelings she could not share aloud in the confined space of the Secret Annex. Kitty was not just a collection of writings. It was Anne's way of maintaining a connection to the outside world and preserving a sense of normalcy. Through her words, Anne explored her identity, her fears, and her dreams, offering glimpses into her longing for freedom and her unshakable belief in the goodness of humanity. Her vivid descriptions of life in hiding, both the moments of tension and the rare instances of joy, brought a unique depth to her story, capturing the resilience of a young girl determined to find meaning amid unimaginable circumstances. Through Kitty, Anne transformed her cramped, hidden world into a universe rich with ideas, emotions, and aspirations. She wrote about the mundane, what they ate, how they cleaned, but she also delved into profound topics, the nature of humanity, the role of women, and her hopes for the future. I can shake off everything as I write, my sorrows disappear, my courage is reborn. This was Anne's magic, the ability to turn pain into prose, fear into wisdom, and confinement into creativity. Her diary was not just a record of events, it was a declaration of resilience. Anne's resilience is like a phoenix. Despite being surrounded by the destruction of war, she found ways to rise above the chaos through her writing. Her ability to find beauty in a world of suffering is a lesson for all of us. For instance, she once wrote, "Look at how a single candle can both defy and define the darkness." This candle in many ways represents Anne herself, a small yet powerful light in an overwhelming void. Anne's hope was like that tree. Though her circumstances were barren and unyielding, her spirit found ways to grow. She dreamed of becoming a writer, traveling the world, and making a difference. Even though her life was cut short, her diary ensured her dreams lived on. In her writings, Anne revealed a profound maturity, exploring themes of love, identity, and the complexities of human nature. Despite the oppressive environment she was forced to endure, Anne's words were filled with a kind of quiet defiance, a refusal to let her circumstances define her future. Her belief in the potential for goodness in humanity, even amidst the horrors of war, stood as a testament to her strength of character. Anne envisioned a future where her writing would inspire others, where her voice would be heard, and where the injustices of the world might be challenged through the power of words. Although she did not live to see the impact of her work, her diary has left an indelible mark on generations, a poignant reminder of the strength of the human spirit even in the darkest of times. Despite their efforts, the Secret Annex was discovered. Anne, her family, and the others were arrested and deported to concentration camps. The girl who once dreamed of freedom found herself trapped in a place far worse than the Annex. For Anne, the shock of being caught was compounded by a deep sense of betrayal and disbelief. The constant fear that had gnawed at her for years, of being discovered, of losing her life and the lives of her loved ones, became a crushing reality. The Franks had trusted the helpers who provided them with food, supplies, and information, yet in the end, it was someone they thought they could trust who had revealed their hiding place. In those final days in the Annex, Anne's diary entries grew darker, filled with the weight of uncertainty. She wrote of her confusion, her anxiety, and the overwhelming sense of helplessness that haunted her as the end of their hiding place loomed closer. The arrest was only the beginning of a new and unimaginable ordeal. In the train to the concentration camps, Anne and her family endured brutal conditions, their dignity stripped away. They were crammed into cattle cars, with no space to sit or even breathe properly, surrounded by the stench of fear and despair. Anne's mind was filled with turmoil as she witnessed the dehumanization of herself and others, mothers separated from children, the elderly torn from their families, and people crying out in pain and terror. Anne's hopes for a future of freedom and possibility were dashed, and in their place emerged the raw reality of survival. The concentration camps represented the ultimate horror, a place where hope was extinguished, and death was a constant companion. Anne's inner conflict deepened as she grappled with the darkness of the world around her. She began to question her own belief in humanity and her desire to write. Would anyone ever read her words? Would her dreams of becoming a writer survive the cruelty of the world she now faced? Despite these harrowing conditions, Anne clung to the lessons of resilience she had learned in the Annex. She refused to give up on the idea that there was still something beautiful in the world, even if it seemed buried beneath layers of hate and violence. But as the days in the camps passed, the toll on her physical and emotional health grew. The girl who had once dreamed of a world beyond the walls of the Annex now faced a much crueler reality. A reality where survival was no longer a matter of escaping, but enduring until the inevitable came. Anne's life ended in the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in early 1945, just weeks before it was liberated. She was only 15 years old. Otto Frank, the sole survivor of the Annex, found Anne's diary after the war. He was determined to fulfill her wish of becoming a writer. In 1947, The Diary of a Young Girl was published, and the world was introduced to Anne's voice. Anne's diary has been translated into over 70 languages and read by millions. It stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and a reminder of the consequences of hatred. Anne's story is not just about the past. It is a warning for the future. It teaches us to cherish freedom, fight against injustice, and never lose hope. In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. Anne Frank's diary is more than a historical document. It's a mirror. It reflects the beauty and fragility of the human spirit, challenging us to be kinder, braver, and more compassionate. Through her words, Anne continues to light the way for generations. Her story is proof that even in the darkest times, the smallest voices can leave the loudest echoes. Read The Diary of a Young Girl and carry its lessons forward. The candle Anne lit must never be extinguished.